Mr. Newell will get the first opening statement.
Thank you, Dan. First of all, I just want to thank everybody for coming out tonight, or this afternoon rather, and I want to thank Tracy and DFNYC, Al and Manhattan Young Democrats, and Dan for being here. I also want to congratulate the Manhattan Young Democrats on hosting a successful New York State Young Dems convention yesterday. Congratulations on that. Forums like this are very important. It's my belief, and I think it is an essential issue in this campaign, that the best decisions and the best policy are achieved through robust and open debate. I think it is a shame that Speaker Sheldon Silver does not view robust and open debate as important either downtown or in Albany. That said, I'm glad to be here, and I want to thank Luke for showing up as well. My name is Paul Newell. I'll be turning 33 years old this week, and my background is as a community organizer and activist. I was born and raised in Lower Manhattan, went to New York City public schools my entire life, and my commitment, and after college I returned here to be a community organizer, and I've been involved in a number of organizations based on health and education and access to services for New Yorkers. Those services involve HIV response, health education, working in schools. I also helped build an organization called the Ubuntu Education Fund, which works with 40,000 orphans and vulnerable children in South Africa on HIV response and health education in one of the poorest communities in the world. In New York and Lower Manhattan, I've worked with a number of organizations on historical preservation, on food access, and on health education. And what those organizational efforts have taught me is that bringing people together, we can achieve real change. I believe that can happen, but it only happens when we have a responsive government. The only way we will get a responsive government is through forums like this, through real democracy, and through a transparent political process in Albany. I'm running for state assembly because Albany is broken. Albany is broken in a number of ways, but the chief way is that it stops communities from coming together to solve our problems. Every time we have a new idea or some progressive legislation in this town, Sheldon Silver and Joe Bruno kill it behind closed doors in secret, and that needs to end. I have seen people coming together to work on issues from the Seward Park urban renewal area, to saving the Path Market at 227 Cherry Street, to responding to PS 64, which is actually out of the district, to a number of issues that people work on, from getting health care for all New Yorkers. And every time we get somewhere, every time we get a movement on reforming the rock drug laws, we get stuck in a secret room in Albany. And the only way that will change is by reforming Albany, and the only way we can reform Albany is by getting rid of Sheldon Silver. I think this culture of secrecy and this culture of failure in Albany can end. Now, I know people have been fighting this for a long time. People have been fighting it from the governor's mansion. People have been fighting it from editorial boards. People have been fighting this culture of failure for decades. I'm not the first guy to say this. Luke is not the first guy to say this. But the only way we will get change is by demanding it at the ballot box. Sheldon Silver hasn't had a challenger in the Democratic primary for 22 years. Now, I don't think Sheldon Silver's a bad man, but I don't believe it's possible after 22 years without so much as a challenge to be in touch with the needs of this community. I've lived here my whole life. I love downtown, and I intend to fight for it. We invented community organizing in the days of Lillian Wald. We invented community organization in this town, in this community, and we need to keep that, to keep the dynamism and energy that we love about Lower Manhattan. I look forward to representing them.
Thank you. Mr. Henry.
Thank you, Democracy for New York City, Manhattan Young Democrats, for hosting the forum. Thanks to all of you for coming out here on this beautiful day. Thanks to Paul. Happy birthday next week, Paul. Thanks to Dan Squadron for having the courage to try to fix a broken system. Thanks to Senator Marty Connor for coming out here today and having the courage and respect for his voters and his constituents to address the needs of the community. I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself, about why I decided to run, and why I think we can win. I'm a progressive Democrat. I've always been a progressive Democrat, and I fight for progressive democratic values. I volunteered on a number of campaigns since I graduated from law school in 2002, and even before law school, I worked on campaigns in 1998, 2000, 2002, 2004. I was moved by Howard Dean's vocal opposition to the war in Iraq and his strong support for the Democratic wing of the Democratic Party, and that's how I first became involved in DFNYC. In 2006, I helped get John Hall elected as a progressive environmentalist in Westchester, and that's where I met some of the DFNYC members who are here tonight. I'm also a committed environmentalist. In my service as a lawyer, I volunteered for the City Bar's Environmental Law Committee. I volunteered for my local community board's environmental committee. And I believe that what we need in Albany is someone who has experience on fighting for the environment and someone who has experience listening to those who have expertise and good ideas about the environment. And I'm also a member of my community. I live with my wife on East 4th Street. We're expecting our first baby in August. And I want the very best for my family. I want the very best for my family and for my neighbors and for the community at large. I hoped for reform, real reform in Albany. And when Elliot Spitzer got elected in 2006, I thought the reform that I was hoping for would come. But it didn't come. And the change that I wanted, I didn't see. I saw piecemeal change, incremental change, but not true change that I thought we needed. And in fact, I despaired that real true change would ever come, that we would ever fix the broken system that you've heard a lot about tonight, or this afternoon. And so I said to my friends, and my family, and people I met on the streets, I talked about the change, I talked about the issues I cared about. And they said, well, if you care so much, why don't you do something about it? And I thought, maybe I should. Maybe I will. Because I believe that removing one of the major obstacles to progress on so many issues, a Democrat who operates in secrecy, through that we can achieve change. And what I believe is that cell phones should be turned off at all times, even if you're my friend. What I really do believe, though, is when I take the message to the voters, as I've done, that although Sheldon Silver may be perceived as part of the Rock of Albany, impregnable, carved in stone, it doesn't have to be that way. And once voters realize that it doesn't have to be that way, it won't. So to wrap up and highlight another important thing that I wanted to tell you all about is I met someone a couple days ago, an environmental policy expert, who said to me, "Nice to meet you." This is the first time we met. "Nice to meet you. You must be crazy." And I said, "If you'll just permit me a couple seconds over." If you will not permit me a couple seconds over, what I want to say is that he said, "You must be crazy. You're taking on an incumbent," and that may be true. But there's a lot of good reasons, which I'll explain to you now over the next period of time, why I believe that I'm not crazy at all. Because although I'm fighting someone who's got a $3 billion war chest, has been around for 30 years, for 22 years, that the things that I'm fighting for in this election, things we all care about, and things we all need.
Yeah, all right, thank you. You keep the mic.